meeting of the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority. We are conducting this meeting via teleconference under Executive Order N 29-20, approved by Governor Newsom on March 17th, 2020. We appreciate your participation and patience with this technology. A recording of this meeting will be posted to our website after the meeting. Public comment. There will be multiple opportunities throughout this meeting for public comment. When I open up an item for public comment, please use the raise hand function to indicate that you would like to make a public comment on this item. If you are joining the webinar on your computer, you can do so by clicking the raise hand button on the middle bottom of the Zoom webinar window. If you are joining over the phone, you can do so by pressing *9. SPRTA staff will then call out individuals who have raised their hand, giving them permission to speak one by one. When you are called, please state your full name and city of residence. You will then have a maximum of 3 minutes to provide your public comment, and SPRTA staff will notify you when your 3 minutes are up. If you experience technical difficulties and are unable to provide your public comment, please email your comment to Sable, our clerk at ssabol@pctpa.net. Board action. Because this meeting is being conducted via teleconference, all votes will be roll call votes. Board members, we ask that you state your name prior to making a motion or seconding a motion for the record. Once an item has been moved and seconded, I will request the clerk call the roll to vote. Thank you, and please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think I've used up all my words today. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Broadway.
Here.
Holmes.
Here.
Howdishell.
Here.
Joyner.
All right, thank you. I'll ask for approval of action minutes, January 27th, 2021, please.
Move approval of minutes.
Second. Okay, Broadway first makes a motion and Joyner seconds. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Broadway.
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Howdishell.
Yes.
Joyner.
Yes. Thank you. Agenda review, any items on the agenda that need to be reviewed? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. Is there any member of the public wish to address the agency board on any item that is not on the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'm seeing no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to item F, consent calendar. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested citizen may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Do we have any items on the consent calendar that need to be discussed? Anyone from the public?
Mr. Chair, there's no request from the public.
Okay, then I'll
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Broadway second.
It's been moved and seconded to consent calendar, although, will the clerk please call the roll?
Broadway.
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Howdishell.
Yes.
Joyner.
Yes. All right, thank you. We'll move to item G. This is a 10:45 a.m. public hearing, South Placer Regional Transportation and Air Quality Mitigation Fee Program Inflationary Adjustment 2021. Mr. Hoyt presenting.
Good morning, Mr. Chair Holmes and Board of Directors. It's great to be in front of you this morning. Annually, we make an adjustment to the Transportation Air Quality Mitigation Fee Program to account for inflationary costs. There was a comprehensive update back in 2014, where at that point in time, we updated all construction costs for projects and instituted this inflationary adjustment moving forward to ensure that we bring in enough funding to deliver the program and all the projects within the South Placer Regional Transportation Authority's program. The inflationary adjustment for 2021 is 3.2%, as indicated in attachment 1 in your staff report. And this inflationary adjustment will go into effect should the board decide to approve this today on July 1st, 2021. We did also release a public notice in the Auburn Journal on April 17th to the public, and we are asking for two actions for this item. One is that we conduct a public hearing on the inflationary adjustment, and then two, that we approve the resolution 2102. And just as a note, the resolution requires unanimous approval per the JPA agreement. And we also mentioned this item to the SPRTA at their meeting on April 13th, and they also unanimously recommended approval to the board. So with that, I'd be glad to take any questions.
All righty, any questions from board members? Any? Seeing no questions, this is a public hearing. I'll open up the public hearing. Is there any members of the public wish to address the agency board on this item?
As a reminder for this public hearing to the members of the public, you can indicate that you'd like to make a comment by raising your hand or dialing *9. Mr. Chair, I'm seeing no requests for public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you kindly. Then the chair will entertain a motion to approve resolution 21-02, adopting the inflationary adjustment for the South Placer Regional Transportation and Air Quality Management Fee.
Broadway will move approval of resolution 21-02.
Okay, Broadway moves, Joyner seconds. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Broadway,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
How to Shelt.
Yes.
Joyner.
Yes. All right, thank you. You double parked or something? Okay, we'll move to item H, Interstate 80 Auxiliary Lanes Project, approving right-of-way contracts and executing certificate of acceptance NDs. Mr. Melko.
Well, I guess it's almost close to good afternoon, members of the SPRTA board. David Melko. I'll be handling this item. So we're requesting the board today to adopt resolution 2103 and 2104, approving acquisition of real property and temporary construction easements and authorizing the executive director to complete those real property transactions for the I-80 Aux Lanes project. So just as a refresher on the I-80 Aux Lanes project, we're constructing capacity enhancements and interchange improvements on Interstate 80 in Roseville and Rockland at two locations, eastbound State Route 65 to Rockland Road interchange and westbound from Douglas Boulevard through Riverside Road interchange at the county line. PCTPA is the implementing agency for the planning and the environmental and the final design phases. SPRTA is the implementing agency for the right-of-way acquisition because SPRTA has that particular authority to acquire property. Caltrans will, once the final design and right-of-way acquisition phases are completed, will advertise, award, and administer the construction of the project. And further reminder, and it was mentioned earlier this morning, this project was awarded construction funding through the state CTC at its December meeting. So the I-80 Aux Lanes project will ultimately impact 4 parcels with this project. 1 privately owned parcel at Douglas Boulevard, 2 parcels owned by the city of Roseville, George Kirby Park, and a sliver of China Garden Road owned by the city of Rockland. The privately owned parcel will come before this board at a later date. We're still working through negotiations with the private property owner. So today we are focusing on the publicly owned parcels with the city of Roseville and the city of Rockland. There's a table in the staff report that shows the acquisition type required, the acquisition, the parcels, the sizes, and the progress. At this point, the SPRTA initiated the right-of-way phase back in June. This board authorized the establishment of an administrative process to commence right-of-way negotiations. Letters were sent to Roseville and Rockland, letters of intent to inspect and appraise the properties. Those were completed during the summer. The executive director authorized Dock and Engineering, who is our consultant, to proceed with right-of-way negotiations in September. So focusing first on Roseville, so temporary construction easements are required for 2 parcels. Those parcels are owned by the city of Roseville. It's on George Kirby Park. We need those parcels in order to widen, get access to widen the bridge that goes over Kirby Creek. And we're also proposing to do drainage improvements because currently stormwater comes off of the interstate and stormwater comes down Joanne Lane at its terminus and runs as a sheet flow over unimproved park property. So the drainage improvements will correct that problem so that we don't get soil within the creek, because soil is not a good thing within the creek. And so those are the improvements. And so that's the reason why we need the temporary construction easements. So an appraisal was completed in June, and we submitted to the city of Roseville a fair market value of $17,300. And that formal offer was made to the city. The city approved the right-of-way contract, which is shown in attachments 1 and 2 to the staff report. The city waived monetary compensation offered by SPRTA, consistent with its mutual purpose to improve public safety and traffic congestion with the project. City of Rockland, we are undertaking a fee acquisition of what essentially is a sliver parcel owned by the city of Rockland, used as public right-of-way, road right-of-way on China Garden Road. This valuation is basically, well, it's an uncomplicated valuation. It's less than $10,000, and under federal and state law and rules, we can do what's called a waiver valuation. And the estimate for this particular parcel was $750. Interestingly, on this particular parcel, years ago, prior to it being owned by City of Rockland, it was owned by the state. And then it went from the state to the city. And now we will be acquiring it for this project, and ultimately it will go back to the state. So, things go around in a circle sometimes. This valuation of $750 was submitted to the city back in October. City Council approved it in December. And that right-of-way contract is shown as attachments 3 and 4. So we are recommending that you adopt the 2 resolutions that accompany this staff report, and you authorize the executive director to complete these transactions for the I-80 Aux Lanes project. We reviewed this with the SPRTA TAC, and they concurred with moving forward with the right-of-way acquisitions. So,
All right.
to
thank you,
answer any
Mr.
questions.
Melko. Any questions for Mr. Melko? Any public comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a member of the public who would like to make a comment.
There is? Oh. Well, Mr. Garabedian, go ahead and make your comment, please.
Mr. Garabedian, you're still muted.
Oh, time's up.
Good morning, SPRTA members. Mike Carabedian from Lincoln. I have a question about, well, I guess it's a 2-part question. Once Caltrans takes over construction, what is SPRTA's role during construction? And then when construction ends, what is SPRTA's role? I'm interested just in general terms. Thank you.
Okay, so the schedule that we have shows that PCTPA will go to the CTC to seek the construction funding in June of 2022. At that point in time, the schedule shows that PCTPA, working with Caltrans, will undertake the bid process for this project sometime in September, with bids coming before Caltrans, because Caltrans will be the agency that will be awarding and administering the project early November. The actual award of construction contract probably will occur in December. So going forward, it's pretty much will be PCTPA monitoring and working closely with Caltrans to make sure that the project is completed according to schedule so that we meet the state funding requirements to spend the money on time. SPRTA's role at this point is to acquire the right-of-way, and we will hold the right-of-way. And the right-of-way will be released to the state once the state accepts the construction contract. That's probably that's mid-2025. The state will close out the project. It takes up to 3 years to close out a project because of claims and that type of thing. And so closeout is estimated in 2028. So sometime between 2025 and 2028, we will turn over that property to Caltrans, and it will become state right away.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Mr. Chair, there's no further public comment at this time.
Did she say there's no more? No. Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Alrighty, no more questions from board members? Alrighty, we're asked to adopt resolution number 21-03 and resolution number 21-04, approving the acquisition of real property and temporary construction easements, and authorize the executive director to complete the real property transactions for the I-80 auxiliary lanes project.
So moved.
Moved by Hosselfeld,
Broadway second?
second by Broadway. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Broadway,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Howdeshelt,
Yes.
Joyner.
All right, thank you. Now we'll move to item I, Executive Director's Report. Is there a report today?
Just one quick thing, Mr. Chair, and that relates to the CRISA discussion at the PCTPA meeting where we allocated stimulus dollars and HIP funding for this project. I just wanted to indicate to the SPAR board that the ultimate backstop for the remaining funding for this project is SPARTA funds. And so it is not our desire to utilize SPARTA funds entirely to fill that gap. But I just also wanted to give you the assurance that it's very important that we complete this project, especially if we received a very large grant of state dollars. And we do have a plan, or if you will, a worst case scenario, which would be we would utilize SPARTA funding. You would have to make a policy decision in order to do that, because we have not had SPARTA funding on this project. But just wanted to give you that assurance that that is the backstop for this, if you will.
Okay. I forget, did we just have that meeting?
Yeah, a little bit ago. But other than that, I don't have anything else to report. I covered, I think, most things during the PCTPA Executive Director's Report.
Okay, any board direction to staff?
Well, Mr. Chair, if I may just ask a question.
Sure.
Mike, the SPARTA funding, so if we did have to go to our backstop, where would that position us from a funding perspective? I know our focus has been from the SPARTA perspective. What would that look like?
Well, as you know, when we've run several scenarios with our traffic model, and also the to get into the weeds a little bit here, our simulation analysis for the 8065 interchange. All of these improvements act as one system, if you will, for moving traffic through our communities. And so, this project is very much tied to the rest of the improvements we're making to interchange and to Highway 65. So there is a nexus there. But traditionally, SPARTA has played a lesser role with this project. So we would be asking you to make a larger commitment of dollars for that. Quite honestly, it would, we have the money, but it would it would mean potentially that some other projects would be slowed down. You know, before we get into that situation, we would bring to you kind of a comprehensive look at funding before we went down that road. But again, I just wanted to mention that to assure you that that we have a plan. You know, it's just we want to investigate all other avenues before we get to the point of using SPRTA dollars. So.
Any other comments for staff? See none. There's some informational items and information for you if you wish. And our next regularly scheduled SPRTA board meeting is May 26, 2021. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you, everyone.